What's up, y'all? We're back at it again. Today I'm going to show you how I did this haircut. Let's get right into it. So first, I'm going to wet the hair and not drench it, but just enough so I can section it. I'm going to start from the cowlick at the crown and connect that section to the front where his hair naturally splits. That way I know what I'm working with up front, since he's going to need some length for the fringe. Once that's set, I'm going to grab my number 4 guard with the lever closed and start setting my foundation on the sides. I'm basically going to go up to the point where I'm going to take my fade, and I'm also following the same shape as the fade. So notice how I'm curving it downward towards the back. That's intentional. Then I go in with the clipper over comb to take out most of the length, but I'm not taking it too short because with this curl pattern, if I remove too much, it'll curl inward when dry and throw off the shape. Right now, while it's wet, I actually want it to flare out a bit so that when it dries, it scrunches back in and lays nicely. Now that the bulk is off, I'm going to create my baseline with my trimmers, and normally I do it with clippers, but I'm showing it this way for content. After that, I'm going to grab my 1.5 guard with the lever closed and bring it up about 1.5 inches to 2 inches above the baseline. Or another way to put it is you can take it as high as where your dark part of that fade is about to begin. Now, without switching guards, I'm going to open the lever and soften that line up into the number 4 guard that I used earlier. And I do want to say, guys, this is a bit of an old video and it wasn't really edited as well as I wanted it to, but it's all good. Now after that, I'm going to drag all the hair from the top that was sectioned off and start blending that into the length on the sides. And I'm being careful again not to cut too much, guys. I want to protect some length, some corners that I'm going to be building in these areas. And just pretty much I'm trying to avoid that cone head look, because when again, if his hair is way too short and when it dries up or I apply some product, it's going to scrunch inward. And I don't want anything too, either too round or, shaped like a cone. Now, using my thinning shears, I'm going to soften the top part of my fade. And you'll notice I'm not going to completely touch that very top part of it yet. I'm saving that for later, but right now I'm pretty much going to finalize that darker foundation of the fade. Now, working on the bottom part of the fade, I'm going to grab my half guard with the lever closed and go up about 1 inch above the baseline, following that same shape. Then I'm going to open the lever, guys, without switching guards. I'm going to blend into the 1.5 guard that I used earlier. And like I've mentioned in other videos, I'm pretty much gliding. I'm not pressing too hard. Pressure depends on hair texture at times, so adjust as you go. If the half isn't working for you, try another guard. Think of this as a reference system though, no strict rules. I'm not here to tell you one way to do it, like this is the only way. Like I've said it many times, there's so many ways to do it. Find what works best for you. So I went back with the 1.5 here, just to clean up a little bit of the fade and detail it. And then after I followed with my thinning shears, just to kind of detail a bit further. His hair was a bit tricky. It's more of like it's got its volume, but it's not thick hair. It's like it's a bit sparsier or thin. And you have to, the way I wanted it to look, you really have to go in and detail a lot, but not overdoing it to the point where, I'm going to spend a really long time on the fade. Then I followed up with the shaver and shaved everything underneath the baseline, keeping a little bit of stubble underneath the baseline. And I usually like to use my trimmers underneath the baseline after the shaver, just to make it easier for me to fade that in from skin to the fade. And now no guard with the lever closed. I'm gonna blend in that baseline, and I'm opening the lever bit by bit as I move up, putting everything together. For any people watching that are beginners, I highly suggest you really get the hang of using your corners, and sometimes in areas like this, practice making smaller flicks, gentle flicks, to avoid taking your fade higher. So once the fade's in, I'm going to clean up my section again, cowlick to the front natural part, and I'm going to start cutting the top. So I'm making sure I get all the hair that I've sectioned from the top to match the length on the sides, and I'm keeping the elevation low because I want a bit of a heavier line sitting on the parietal area. Now towards the front, I am going to over direct down even more just a bit to preserve more length for the fringe. What I mean by lower elevation is I'm just dragging the hair down lower and matching it with whatever length that I want to use as a guide, or as a reference. Now once that's done, I go in and find his middle part. Now this can vary. Sometimes it'll be dead in the center, sometimes a little to the left or right, and sometimes it curves even into an S shape. Wherever it naturally falls, that's where I'll split it. If you struggle with this, I've shown in past videos how to comb the hair and push it around to see where it naturally wants to separate. Now I'll start layering. Basically, I'm lifting these top sections so the inner top stacks on top of the sides and back that I previously sectioned off. So this will give me a softer look while keeping length, but from the ears forward, I am staying with lower elevation. I want that front longer, guys. And when I am pulling the hair up, guys, I'm just looking for my guideline underneath, even when I'm doing it in from the front. So when I move towards the front, I'm also gonna just match all that length down to the length on the bottom. The length that I cut underneath all this hair from the top. I'm then going to create a profile section right through the middle, pull it up, and I am going to use the shortest long piece as my reference, guys. I'm going to repeat that, the shortest long piece. That way I don't cut too much from the front, but I create a layered effect. And I am just considering, guys, that when the hair dries up or I use some kind of product, the hair is going to scrunch up. So I may be thinking that it's long, but in reality, it's gonna look shorter. After that, I'm gonna move into horizontal sections, moving from the front to the back, evening everything out and keeping a square shape at the top. So again, I'm just connecting point A to point B from what I cut in the profile section to the shortest point that I cut on the sides when I'm lifting the hair up. After this, guys, I did detail the fade a little more. Not all of it made it into this old video, but I tried my best. Then I applied some curling cream after this. I let it air dry, and that was pretty much it, guys. And again, guys, some steps you might do differently, and that's fine. I'm just showing you one way to approach this kind of haircut while explaining the fundamentals. The idea is you take what works for you and build your own system. If you picked up some value from this, drop a like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what kind of haircut you want me to break down next. I already have a lot of haircuts lined up from your guys' comments, and I appreciate every one of you. And if you do want to dive deeper, we have a free community where I share more step-by-step breakdowns like this. I'll leave the link in the description, so check that out. I'll catch you guys in the next video.